Class, welcome to IS460 and 560. I'm Professor Fahmi Jalani. Today we'll be covering Chapter 5 on scope management. So, what exactly is scope? Technically, it's the area of the project you're gonna cover, which basically everything about the project. And the responsibility of the project manager or PM is to control the project in terms of goals and objective. Some of the pointers here that we have to take note is the conceptual development, the scope statement, the work authorization, the scope reporting, controlling system, and how to close out the project, in this case finalizing the project. So first we will talk about conceptual development. In conceptual development is technically is to get the best way to solve the problem or finish the project. Okay, the key step is to identify the problem. This is basically problem statement, information gathering, R&D, research and development. What's the best way to do this? What's the constraint in terms of financial, technical expertise? Do we have support from the top? What the alternative? Okay, today when you have a problem, what are the alternative ways to solve the problem? For example, getting the best software, outsourcing, things like that. And what's the objective? Okay. The first point, we take a look at problem statement. So in order for the project to be successful, is to reduce the overall complexity. If a project is too big, you will divide it into phases, okay, which we commonly hear phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of the project, and you set a deadline, which here we cover on clear objective, okay, and you need to understand the problem, and from understanding the problem, okay, you can find the best way to solve it. Yeah. Next is statement of work. Basically is the detailed narrative description of the work, okay, the introduction, the background, okay, of the project, okay, the detail, this technical description. In this case, for example, you need to do a software project. What are the codes? What's the software language you're going to use? What's the codes you want to do? The architecture of the software, for example, okay, the timeline, okay, how long it's going to take, when is it going to be completed, okay, milestone, and what's the expectation of the client, okay, which we commonly see that customer like to change their requirements. So you need to have it black and white in order to not to keep changing the software or the project. That is quite a cumbersome task, and from there you at least you have evidence to the customer, and in the event there's any changes, there might be more, they will incur more charges, okay, where you can make a lot of money on that. Scope statement, goal criteria, okay, you need to establish a few things. Cost, for example, what's the cost, okay, even as simple as creating a simple website, okay, there must be cost, for example, the domain name, the server, okay, what's the template going to cost. For example, today you can technically buy a template from the internet, for example, WordPress. You want to use WordPress, okay, how much it's going to cost, what's the monthly maintenance fees, and also not forgetting your man hours. Okay, schedule, okay, timeline, performance, how good it is, okay, deliverables, did they make the deliverables, for example, to the customer, certain pointers that they need, okay, also review and approval, okay, from the customer, for example, or from your bosses. Also, you need to create a management plan, which in this case for a report, okay, which consists of the structure breakdown, okay, and the scope baseline, meaning we need to have certain output at this time, for example. So work breakdown structure, or WOB, next talks about synchronizing, okay, example, a specific task, okay, what is accomplished, okay, objective, logical structure, okay, establish of method of control, how you control the project in terms of cost, for example, what's the project status, how you communicate it, okay, how people are able to view what's the progress, okay, improve communication, you have any hurdles or any issue that you find that you can proceed or you are stuck, okay, in certain, for example, programming code, okay, and you need to highlight to the higher management to be able to solve it when you have error, for example. Demonstrate, also demonstration of control structure. So the next slide shows you a figure of work breakdown. This is quite straightforward. Apologize about the slide, something to do with alignment. So over here we see the first point one is basically the project, okay, and the yellow part is the deliverables. These are basically major components. For example, you need to create the file for example for a bank system. So it could be 1.2 could be savings account, 1.3 should be checking account, 1.4 be fixed deposit. So those are the major components of the file, for example. Sub deliveries, okay, for example, in a checking account, they will check what the balance, are you the authenticated user for that account, password, things like that, okay. And you have lastly the green one is individual project activities, okay. For example, I mentioned just now to check the validity of the PIN number, for example, on a debit card, okay, when you draw money from the ATM. So these are basically minute detail that that the project has to think about, okay. So the next slide shows a sample of Microsoft project. This is basically a Gantt chart where you can see point one, for example, the main project, followed by the sub project, and over here we see the timeline, what is planned, what is actual, okay. From there you can forecast the project to be completed, the timeline, okay. Or do you need any extra time, or you're putting too much time on certain things, okay. Defining a work package. So basically you need to define what's the lowest level of work breakdown structure, okay. Usually people will do the easiest things first, okay. Things that they can be accomplished earlier, okay, first, okay. Deliver results, what the results, one owner, basically the project manager, manager projects, milestone, okay, fits organization and trackable, okay. So take note that all your project needs to be noted down, and it needs to be transparent, okay. Right. Having said that, those of you who have done IS250, for example, coding Java class, you should be well aware of the enormous and the complexity of programming, and those of you have taken my class, you notice that you've been guided technically, hand in hand, directly, to understand the fundamentals of programming. In the event that you decided to do IS345, which is a higher level of programming and different way of teaching of the class, it's not appropriate to feedback, refer back on the downside of the IS250, where students will say that they didn't learn anything on IS250 when 345 is not a compulsory course, but it's not a core course, but it's an optional, and they want to challenge themselves to do it, but then it's too challenging for them, and I think the safest way is to drop the class and do something else, you see. So there's a bit of project in terms of your graduation, you see, what's your plan to graduate, you see, and what's your in this case restriction, see, or what you're constrained, see, what are you capable to do, and what you are not capable to do without any guidance. Okay, so that's sidetrack. Apologies about that. So next we will go to organization breakdown, where they define the work, okay, and the workload. For example, who will be doing what. For this case, owner assignment, work packages, what's the budget of the department. Okay, so basically it interlinks each other. Okay, which is shown in the next matrix, and here we see an example of how the project is divided, where they have the personnel on the top from different department, IS, HR, R&D, and what are the tasks and the deliverables required. Okay, and these are basically notification, responsibility, support, and approval. They are required, or they are responsible to. And next is go ahead, or work authorization. Okay, so once everything is in place, you should start the project. Who has the authority to start the project? Who has the authority to stop the project? Okay, things like that. Should be the project manager or maybe the team lead. Okay, a few things need to consider: the scope of the definition. Okay, planning document, right? Management plans and contractual documents. These are few things that you need to take note, okay, when making decision. And also, don't forgetting, I mentioned earlier, documentation, okay, which is required. This basically evidence and also a guideline for you to complete the task. So not only that, we also mention here about contract range. This is basically turnkey, which is basically the cost between a finished project and additional work. For example, this is cost plus. Okay. Scope reporting, who, what, when, and how to report. Okay, not forgetting cost, schedule, and performance. Okay, technical performance, not the individual performance. Okay, so for example, when Elon Musk wanted to build the rocket, they test it out and what's the performance, and every part is being divided. Okay, the avionics, electronics, the fuel system, everything is divided, and they are being tracked, and there are sensors to track the technical performance, for example. Okay, interestingly, SpaceX wasn't so successful. 3 times they blew up their rocket, and not until the fourth time they were successful to able to launch the rocket, and it's not easy, right? And he invested his own money, millions of dollars, and today he's one of the richest men in the world. Types of control, configuration, okay, how you going to design the product, okay, which part go to where, okay, configuration, design, I mentioned about design, okay, trend monitoring, what is in today. For example, electric cars is in today, and there's a lot of other trends coming in. For example, not in Tesla, we have Riven, okay, there's BYN, which is from China actually. It's called Build Your Dream, BYD actually. And it's selling more cars there in China as compared to Tesla. Try and Google it. Yeah. You'll be amazed. Yeah. Documentation. Okay. You need to document every work you done or planning to do. Okay. Acquisition. What do you buy? Software, hardware. Okay. It could be also new talent too, and specification. Okay. What are the technical specification requirement for the detail? Okay, what is it required in the project to do? Last but not least, we have close out. So once you end the project, okay, you need to produce the paperwork, like your report, which everybody will be used to it right now. And we have close out document. So what I used to resolve dispute, train project manager, facilitate auditing, okay, which includes historical record, post-project analysis, and financial closeout. So these are basically historical data that you need to keep in the event that you need to improve the project or replicate the project for another different project which have this similar features, for example. So from there you learn, and you will basically minimize the learning curve, and complete the project quickly. So that's pretty much it for the class today. If you have any question, please feel free to email me doubts or understanding. And I'm not sure whether if you are taking 345, so in the event you are taking 45, you're having issue, try to rationalize and ask yourself whether if you are able to complete the class project, if you and you have the capabilities to do the class. So that's pretty much it for the class. Thank you, stay safe, and do stay warm. Thanks, bye bye.